In this video, you're going to learn step by step on how to build an AI voice agent in n8n that automatically books Go high level appointments. You're going to learn exactly how to build this voice AI agent that is able to take incoming customer calls automatically, check availability within a Go high level calendar, and then also suggest alternative slots if it is unavailable. And then from there, it is able to create contacts with inside the CRM and then also book appointments all automatically. By the end of this video, you have a complete understanding on how to build this system, and you'll also get a completely free AI template in which you can just go ahead and download and implement into your n8n workflows and voice AI platforms completely for free. And if you don't already know me, my name is Ashton. I've been helping business owners implement AI solutions to save time, cut costs, and drive growth. Without further ado, let's jump into a demo so you can see how the system works, and then we're going to go straight into n8n so you can actually see how to build this out for yourself.
Hello, this is Sophia from Crown Cuts and Style Studio. How may I help you?
Hey, how you going, Sophia? Look, I'd just like to book an appointment for tomorrow at 3 p.m. for a haircut. Do you have any availability then?
Hi there. Unfortunately, we don't have a slot available for tomorrow at 3 p.m. The closest time would be Monday, November 10th at 9 a.m., or I can find another time that suits you better. What do you think?
Yeah, that works actually. Yeah, I'll go with Monday 9 a.m.
Great choice. Can I please have your first name, last name, and email address to lock in your spot?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ashton, and then my last name's Voss, and then my email address is ashtonvoss47 at gmail.com.
All set. Ashton, your haircut is booked for Monday, November 10th at 9 a.m. Looking forward to seeing you then. Let me know if there's anything else you need.
Okay, so we can see the appointment right here has been successfully scheduled with my name and everything. So that's exactly how this voice AI agent works. Now let's jump into Vapi, which is going to be the platform we're going to be using to build this voice AI agent. And then we'll head over to n8n and I'll give you a rundown on everything you need to know and actually how to build this system. Okay, and we are in Vapi now. And essentially, this is going to be the platform we are using to create our voice AI agent. So again, Vapi is the platform that allows us to pick up these phone calls, converse with the customer, and then also send external information to n8n. And then from n8n, we can go ahead and process all of our bookings. So what you want to do is you want to come over to Vapi right here. If you sign up, you will get $10 worth of free credits. You can sign up using the link in the description below. But essentially, you can go down to build right here. You want to create a new assistant, and then it will be a blank template. Now, because I've already pre-built this agent and I'm going to be giving you the template and prompt and everything to download, it'll make it so much faster. But again, this is exactly how you do it. Create an assistant right here. And then from there, you'll be put into this dashboard right here. So essentially, up here is the cost, right? This is your cost of your voice AI agent. Again, we have around 10 cents per minute, and then we've also got the latency. So how long it takes for us to speak into the AI agent to then which it responds to us. So again, that's the latency and the cost, but we won't go too in depth into that because this is really the section that we need to focus on, right? So again, the provider right here is going to be OpenAI. That's going to be the LLM and the brain behind our voice AI agent. And then from here, we have the model. So again, we're specifying the model of for the provider of OpenAI. Again, I recommend using for a cluster or 4.1 mini, right? Um, and by the way, if you are building this, make sure you go ahead and publish first right here to save everything. And then from here, our first message mode is assistant speaks first. So essentially, this is going to be the essentially whenever someone calls the AI agent, this is the first message mode. So again, the assistant is going to speak first using this configuration right here, and the first message is going to be this: "Hello, this is Sophia from Crown Cuts and Style Studio. How may I help you?" So again, that's going to be the first message that's going to be displayed every single time when someone calls it. And then from here, we have the system prompt. So again, this is the system prompt of our AI agent. Essentially, the system prompt is telling the AI agent its role, what to do, how to conduct the conversation, what certain tools to call, and all of those things. So again, we're going to be diving deep into this system prompt, right? And if you do download this template, by the way, it is available in my free resource hub in school. I've got a bunch of free resources so you can actually start learning and building and deploying these voice AI agents completely for free. So if you do download this template, you will get this prompt, and essentially all you need to do is copy and paste it and it will work. And then I'm also going to run you through a few things that you need to change depending on your time zone and some of those other things, right? So essentially, this is our system prompt, right? We've got role, we've got current time, we've got a bunch of different things. So again, the whole idea of this prompt is to tell the role of its agent, who it is, how it's meant to be speaking, what to do in the conversation, and some of those things right here. So the better the prompt, the better the output's going to be, and the better the voice agent's going to be for us and the business as well. So again, this is the role right here. You are Sophia, a concierge for Crown Cuts and Style Studio, a modern salon and barber lounge. Your persona is friendly, approachable, stylish, and confident. Your primary function is to provide a smooth and trendy booking experience that reflects the salon's high quality brand. So again, we're telling the AI agent its name right here, who it's working for, a little bit of context about the business. So again, a modern salon and barber lounge, and then also its persona and how to talk in the conversation. So again, your persona is friendly, approachable, stylish, and confident right here. So again, your primary function is to provide a smooth, trendy booking experience that reflects the salon's high quality brand purposes. And then from here, we have current time. So again, this is going to be the current time of our AI agent. Now, something that you have to change is just going to be this, right? So depending on your time zone, you're going to need to change this current time. So if you were in America/Chicago, that's what you would put. Make sure you have capitals. If you're in Europe, you would just put your city. You would put your country and then slash your city, right? So again, this is very important for our AI to essentially get the current time in which it's talking to the customer, right? Because it's going to be sending this over to n8n and it's going to be helping us book the appointment. So again, this is what we call a dynamic variable. So again, it won't look like this in the prompt. It'll look like, November 7th, 2025 for this time zone. So that's what it's actually going to be looking like in the prompt. And essentially this dynamic variable just pre-populates that field. So again, that's what we call it, a dynamic variable. And by the way, if you are wondering what these little hashtags right up here, it's called markdown formatting. It essentially enhances the prompt of our AI. So pretend that these words right here are in headers, and then underneath it is kind of like the text, right, for our prompt. So you can see how we can accurately create these prompts. And then from here, we have the task. So again, your main task is to guide the client through the booking process in 3 steps: greeting the user, checking for available appointment slots, and also booking the appointment. Number 1, greeting and service inquiry, right? Greet the caller warmly, stating your name and the salon's name. Ask what service they'd like. For example, is it a haircut, beard trim, and color styling? So essentially, this is going to be the task of our AI agent. So what is its main task? And how is it going to be conducting that task in the conversation? So this is what we like to call chain of thought prompting. So this is essentially where we use a step-by-step process to guide the AI on how to conduct the conversation. So again, in this example, I'm just using, a template or a prompt that I've already pre-built, which is just going to be for a salon. But you can really customize this for anything you need. By the way, if you go ahead and join my free resource hub, I've got a bunch of free prompts in there as well for different businesses, right? So again, number 1 is just greeting the customer and asking about their service, right? Number 2 is checking the availability. So this is where we're going to be using our Go High Level n8n workflow to check availability within the appointment slots. And I'll show you how that works as well. Once you know the desired service, ask the client for their preferred date and time. Use the Go High Level appointment tool to check for the requested time. If their time is available, then proceed to the next step. But if their time is unavailable, politely inform them and suggest the next closest slot. So for example, you saw in the demo that it was able to check availability within the calendar and then also suggest the next closest slot as well, which was Monday, right? So today, for reference, today is Friday, and then the next open slot was Monday. Once a suitable appointment time is agreed upon, collect the client's first name, last name, and email, right? And then run the Go High Level appointment tool with the user's first name, last name, and the customer number. So again, just like up here, this is going to be a dynamic variable, all right? And this is going to be very, very important in our Go High Level workflow, and you will see why. But essentially, we don't need to ask for the customer's number because we can already use the number that they are calling from. And essentially, the whole point of that is to use this dynamic variable, and it will pre-populate with their number right there. So again, it's going to be running the appointment tool to book the appointment with all of these fields and their number. And we're going to be using this number later to accurately search if they exist within our contact and CRM inside Go High Level, which is very important for booking the appointment. Then from here, we have the context. So context, Crown Cuts and Style Studio is a premium salon and barber lounge offering haircuts. Haircuts, color, beard trims, and styling. Your interaction must be smooth, stylish, and friendly and match the brand's vibe. You are integrated directly within the salon's booking calendar via the provided tools. The user is calling by phone, asking to book an appointment, check times, and get business info. So essentially, this is where we are providing a little bit of context about why callers are calling in for the agent, what the business is about, etc. So again, providing context to the voice AI agent is very important. And then from here, we have the example conversation / scenario. So again, this is providing a little bit of context on what an example conversation might look like for the AI agent. And also it's helping the agent call tools as well. So for example, right here, you can see this is just an example conversation, but right here we've got the tools, right? This should say, this should say go high level appointment tool, because I customized this for go high level. But again, you get the point, right? This is essentially letting the AI agent know how to call the tools and when to call the tools inside the situation, right? So again, that's just an example conversation. And then finally, we have important notes. So again, we are providing some important notes and last notes to the AI agent. So again, use everyday conversational language, keep responses short, use the client's name, add light natural fillers like where it fits to sound more human. Do not mention any tools or functions. So again, just some final notes for the AI agent to make it more conversational. So essentially, that's going to be our system prompt. And of course, if you download everything, you will get everything right here. So again, make sure to change your time zone up here, and everything will work, right? I go ahead and click update. Again, make sure you publish this always just to make sure it saves within Vapi. Okay, awesome. And then files. This is where you can add in any files for your agent to give it knowledge and knowledge base. So for example, for a haircut or a style studio, I might want to go ahead and add in this knowledge base right here. And you can see it'll actually go ahead and add that knowledge base, right? So again, the AI will have access to that knowledge to refer to any appointment times or any haircuts or any information about the business, right? So to get prices, etc., right? So again, that's just how you can add knowledge to your agent. And then from here, max tokens. This essentially means the maximum amount of output or tokens that the AI is allowed to output. So again, having this around 250 just to make sure it's very concise and it's very good in its responses, right? Temperature, this essentially means the creativeness or the randomness of our AI agent. If you have it up higher, it's going to be more creative within its responses. If you've got it down lower, it's going to be more strict and it's going to be less creative and it's going to stick to the prompt. So again, I just like to have it about 0.5, right? Voice configuration, this is where you can, customize the voice. As you saw in the demo, it was a man's voice, but her name was actually Sophia. So again, that's just my error right there. But again, you can change it. You can change it to a female's voice right there. Perfectly fine, right? And then from there, we have the additional configuration. So again, this is where you can add in any background sound. So again, you can add in an office. You can add in anything right here. Transcriber, leave this. But now this is where we're going to get onto the tools and making the connection from our voice AI platform all the way over to n8n. So again, I'm going to go over to the tools and I'm going to show you how to configure a tool and then attach it to our appointment agent. So again, just make sure we save everything right here. Awesome. All right, now let's go over to tools. And what you want to do is you want to create a new tool and it's going to be a custom tool right here. Now, since I've already created this template, so you can just go ahead and copy everything, I'm just going to be running you through how to configure this tool, right? So the tool name up here is going to be Go High Level Appointment. Now, what's very important is to make sure you reference the tool name. Make sure you have the tool name the same in the tool and the same in the prompt as well. That's very important so the AI agent knows what tool to call. Then from here, we have the description. So again, this tool will be used to check availability and book appointments, right? So again, that's going into the LLM to give it context on what the tool is about, right? There we go. And then from here, we have the parameters. So essentially, we have a few parameters here. We've got the email, last name, first name, a phone number, appointment type, current date and time, and then appointment date and time, right? So essentially, these parameters, the AI is collecting this information of this transcript in the conversation. It's filling in these parameters and it's sending it over to our webhook, which is going to be inside n8n as well. So again, these are the parameters we have right here. This is going to be the email. So make sure to mention this in your prompt and also have it in the parameters. We're going to have an email right here. We're going to have the description. So again, letting the AI know the purpose of this parameter. We're going to have a last name. So again, the last name of the customer. Put that in right there. And then we have the first name, which is going to be the first name of the customer. Again, pretty self-explanatory. And then down here, this is where we need to have our required variables. So again, the difference between this and this is just that this needs to be filled in and this information needs to be collected before it calls this tool. That's essentially what it means. And it's very important that the AI collects this. Otherwise, this workflow won't actually run, right? So essentially, we have the phone number here, right? And this is where we're going to be using the dynamic variable. Now, because we can already tell what phone number the customer is calling from, right? We don't need to ask them for the phone number. We may just need to confirm their phone number with them, right? But in this example, I didn't really confirm it, but you can add it in the prompt to confirm the number if you want, right? So essentially what we're doing here is we're using a dynamic variable. And in Vapi, it's called customer.number. So again, Vapi is going to get the number that they're calling from to our voice AI agent, and we can now use that in our agent. We can use that in our workflow. So essentially, the name is going to be phone number, and then the description is just telling the AI what the value should be, which is just going to be the customer number variable right there. And then from here, we have appointment type. So again, this is the type of appointment, and you must send this value within either the check availability if the customer wants to check availability, or book appointment if the customer wants to book an appointment. So again, within our workflow, we have two types of different workflows. We've got a book appointment workflow, and then we've also got a check availability workflow right here. And essentially, this is where this little node comes down here, which essentially checks the value of our appointment, right? So if it is a check availability, it's then going to go down one path. And then if it is a book appointment, it's going to go down another path, right? So that's essentially all that's happening right there, okay? So if we come back here, if we come to the appointment type, we can see that that is going to be sending in either check availability or book appointment. And then from here, we have the current time. So again, this is going to be the current time. It's going to be sending over the current time right now. And this is going to be very useful for letting the workflow know the current time. So you can either do this by Vapi, or you can either do it by n8n. I've chosen to do it by n8 Vapi right here. So again, go ahead and click apply. And then we also have appointment date and time. This is going to be the requested time for the appointment, whether it is a check availability or a book appointment. So hence why we have this as required, because if the customer, checks availability, it needs to have appointment time, or if it books an appointment, it needs to have an appointment time. So essentially that's all our parameters. Don't worry about any of this stuff here, but essentially what Vapi is going to be doing, as I said, it's going to be collecting information off the transcript, pre-populating these variables, and then it's going to be sending it to our webhook address right here. And this is exactly where our n8n workflow comes into play. So let's go over to n8n right now, and let's go over to the editor, and let's run through the workflow variables. Now, down here, I've got a little, to-do guide and what this workflow does. So essentially, this workflow gets calendar within the given date range. It schedules appointments for contacts and also creates contacts. And then it also checks if the contacts exist. So that's essentially what the workflow is going to be doing. And then this is what you're going to be needing, right? So I will show you how to get this also. But again, you're going to need to go high-level API access and credentials, and I'm going to show you how to store that in. You're also going to need to provide the calendar ID for the calendar it's booking in, and then also the location ID. So those are the three things, you need from Go High Level. And then from here, we've got everything set up in terms of the n8n webhook. We've got everything else. So again, that's all you need, right? And I will show you how to do that, don't worry, right? But let's go into the first step of the workflow. So if we come back to Vapi, this is going to be that webhook address right here. So you come back, and if you do import this template in, it'll already be pre-populated. But if you want to build this out, you can, right? So again, the first step right here is going to be our workflow trigger. So as soon as Vapi calls this tool, it's going to trigger our workflow. So again, this is going to be our webhook trigger. And make sure this is on post, not anything else. Post method, authentication none, and then response using respond to webhook node right here. So again, if you paste this in, come back to Vapi and put it in right here, that'll be all good to go. And you can now obviously send some information to your appointment, right? And then the next thing it's going to do from here is it's going to check what type of appointment it is. So again, if we come back to here, this is where this variable comes in. So again, based on what the customer wants to do, if it's a check availability or book an appointment, it's then actually going to check what type of appointment it is. And then from there, it's going to either head down this path, which is going to be check availability within Go High Level, or this path, which is going to be book appointment. So again, that's all that it's doing. You can see right here, if we come into the workflow, right? Let's get it loaded up. You can see the example of what we actually just did, right? So again, if you see, that's actually everything, right? So we can see that this specific function was actually book appointment, right? So it was able to book that appointment and go down that path, right? Awesome, right? So again, that's an example of the execution. And then from there, we have check availability and book appointment. Now, I'm going to go into a previous execution so you can actually see how the data is mapped through. So again, let's load everything up right here. So again, for a check availability workflow, essentially, we're just using an execution data. So this just saves the data in a way. So when we are seeing how it's running in the workflow, we can see what data is also in there. So again, that's all that this node is doing. Don't worry about that. So again, we can see that webhook has come in. Schema, headers. You can see this is all the information from our webhook. We've got everything right there. And then from here, it is identified that it's a check availability. It comes down, and then from here, it's setting some variables. So if we could tap in right here, and this is where you want to put in your calendar ID. So if we come back to the editor right here, set variables. This is where you want to put your calendar ID. And now to get that calendar ID, I'm going to show you. So go over to your Go High Level account, and then I'm going to show you how to get that calendar ID. Okay, awesome. So once you're in your Go High Level account, make sure to go over to your calendar section right here. And then depending on the type of calendar you have, you can see these little ID things right here. So that's exactly where you want to get your ID of the calendar, right? So for example, mine was MedSpa and appointment. I will come back here and I'll paste it right there for MedSpa and appointment. So again, that's the information you're going to need to get your calendar ID. Again, it's pretty straightforward. Nothing really too fancy there, right? And then from here, we have convert date start time. So essentially, if we come back into the execution, just so you can see how everything will work. So again, for a check availability note, it's set that variable. So again, it's just setting a variable in, and we can see that that variable is calendar ID right there. And then from here, we have convert start date, right? So again, how Go High Level needs to configure its dates is it needs to put it in what we call UniXMS timestamp. So essentially, that's going to be the format in which our timestamp needs to be in. So again, Go High Level requires it in this specific format. Essentially, this is just like the milliseconds or something like that. It's like some millisecond thing to the year to the date. You don't really need to worry about that, but essentially this convert start date is just formatting this date. So again, we're getting the date of the requested customer by that webhook, and then we're converting it by UniXMS timestamp, which is going to give us the start date right there. And then from here, we have set availability window. So essentially, we're going to be adding on 7 days to check within extra slots. So if the circumstance happens to be, if there's no slots within this time frame, it's going to add on 7 days, and it's going to look for all the slots within 7 days. Now you can change this to 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, whatever, but essentially it's going to be giving us the date between the customer requested, so the time that the customer requested, it's going to be giving us the availability between that date and then 7 days onwards. So you can change this to whatever you want. So essentially, we're just adding today, add to whatever date it has been, and then time to add, which is days, duration 7, and then output, which is going to be fill name right there. So again, that's going to be everything. Then from here, we have format start date. So again, this is going to be formatting the start date. The date is going to be this, which is going to be json.newDate. So again, we're just formatting the new date, which is going to be in ISO 861 format, right? And then from there, we're going to be getting 3 slots. So again, we have a URL method, which is going to be by get, which is going to be by the API request. Now, this is where you will need to go ahead and actually get some of your API credentials via Go High Level. So if we come into here, get slots. So the URL is going to be this. This is essentially to the API URL, which is going to be for the calendar ID. We're going to be putting that in there. Authentication type, generic credential type, and then generic authentication type, which is going to be custom auth, and then the custom auth is going to be select down to this. Now, what you want to do is you want to go back over to your Go High Level right here. You want to click Create New Integration, right? And then the name you want to enter is just going to be anything, right? So for example, we'll just do n8n, n8n, Go High Level, workflow, whatever. I'm just doing this quickly. We'll just do like test for this, right? And then you'll click Next. And then from here, this is where you want to do your scopes, right? So again, the scopes is going to be, it's going to be view calendars, edit calendar, view calendar event, edit calendar events. So just put all the scopes for calendars and contacts. Or alternatively, if you want to be safe, just go down and put all these scopes. But again, you won't need any of these scopes right here. You'll just need some of the scopes for edit users, view users, etc. Again, I will leave down below in the link description about all the scopes. But if you want, just go ahead and add all the scopes so you can create an API and you can use it for other workflows. That's what I'd recommend. Just actually go ahead and add all these scopes. So if you do want to use your API for other n8n workflows and other Go High Level capabilities, you can do that. So again, just add all the scopes. It really won't take long. Click create, and then you will get an API key, right? From that API key, this is what you want to do. So you want to come into custom auth, and you can see how my auth is figured right here. So again, this is going to be my custom auth right here. We have it in JSON format. So again, if you do download this format, you will get actually the template and everything right here with the authentication code. So once you have copied that authentication code from back here, get it. And then if you do download the template, or alternatively, you want to put in this JSON, you want to copy this right here. So again, leave this as bearer and then just put the authentication key right there, right? That's going to be everything you need. And then from here, once we have that authentication set up, we're going to be good, right? And then from here, this is where we're going to be putting in some of our variables. So again, we're going to be putting in the start date, which is going to be this, right? And then we're going to be putting in the end date as well, right? Which is just essentially getting that new date we have. So adding on the date from the availability window and then just formatting it into that time slot as well. Because for some reason, high level is weird. It needs the UniX MS timestamp format, right? But for book appointment, it needs ISO 861. So again, it's quite weird. I don't know why they've done that. But essentially, the variables are going to be a start date and then also an end date, right? And that's it, right? And then also put never error and then response in text and then put the output field as 3 slots, right? Awesome. Okay. And then from here, we have a if or true statement, right? So essentially, once it's checked availability, it's either going to respond to this webhook, which is going to say, okay, it has been successfully submitted. And the thing here that we need is because it's going to be in Vapi, right? We're going to need a tool webhook ID response. So if we come back to our execution again, so you can actually see how the data is working. If we come back to the execution, so you can see this execution, which is the demo that you saw, it was available, so it will respond to the webhook right here. And essentially, this is what the data would look like, right? So you can see that's going to be our webhook response ID. So how you actually do that is you come into the webhook, right? You go down to headers, and then you want to put this ID right here into that tool call ID right there. And then from here, the result is just going to be all the time slots within one day, right? And don't worry, because the AI will only suggest 1 or 2 time slots, and hence why we can prompt it. So the AI will receive this, right? It will receive all this long text, and it'll actually identify the time slot that has been requested closest to the user, right? So essentially, that's what's happening with that webhook. And then from here, this other webhook is just an error webhook. So again, for whatever reason, if this get appointment it hasn't been successful, it'll go down this path and it'll say, hey, look, for some reason, the appointment with the requested date is not available, or alternatively, the calendar has been unsuccessful. So the reason why we put this is because we do error handling within the workflow, right? So for whatever reason, let's just say this has, if we're working with a client, this has returned an error, right? We can just provide a webhook response to ask for a new time, right? So again, that would kind of save the conversation, save the customer. If an error does happen, we can just ask the user to try again and suggest a new date. But in reality, it is an error, right? Something that's happened. So again, that's how we respond to those errors. Okay, so that sorts out the first check availability workflow in Go High Level. Now let's move on to the book appointment, which is a little bit more longer, but again, it's not too complex. There's just a few things that we need to do. All right, so if we come into executions, I'm going to go up to our latest execution. Awesome, right here. Okay, awesome. So again, we can see we have a webhook, which is going to be our webhook post method right here. So again, that's going to be the same trigger with all of our data right here, as you can see. And then from here, you can go ahead and do a switch module. So again, it's identified that it actually is a book appointment, right? And then it's just going to go down here this path and then go to the execution data, which is saving for the highlight in the data, right? And then what's different about this book appointment workflow is that we don't need to put it in that UniX format. We just needed to put it in ISO 861 format, right? So essentially what we're doing here is we're just contacting OpenAI to get that time and convert it into an ISO 861 format time accurately. So again, this is probably the best way that I found to do it, is just use AI. Just use AI to literally add on this +10. That's all that it's doing, right? So again, our prompt right here is pretty simple. Your role is to convert the user's time into ISO 861 format. And then we just got some basic prompt engineering. So again, an example of this would be this: your output must result only in this format, nothing else. Now, depending on your time zone, you want to change whatever this offset is. So once you download this prompt, again, let's come back into our editor so you can see how to edit it. Once you download this prompt, you're going to need to change a few things. So again, change this to whatever time zone you're in, right? If you're in Central America time, I believe it's -4 or -5, or whatever GMT time zone you're in, this is essentially going to be the offset time zone, right? Now, this is going to be the user prompt. So again, we've just got some basic prompt engineering. If your user's input, like for example, for tomorrow at 2 p.m., you simply use the now time and then use the offset to 10 to help you generate your results. So essentially, this is just providing some prompt engineering. If the user's input, right, if the time it has given us is pretty vague and the AI can't actually decide what time it is with the date, etc., we can use the current time now in n8n to help the AI format that date in that format, right? So again, that's just some of the prompting. And then in terms of the text, this is going to be the expression right here, right? So again, that's going to be the requested time of the customer. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and set variables. So again, we're going to be setting a few variables. We're going to be setting the location ID and the calendar ID. Now, how to get the location ID, I will show. It's pretty simple. So actually go up to your sub account in n8n. And then what you want to do is you will go to the URL, right, up the top. And then that location ID is going to be this little string of numbers in between the location and the settings, right? So go ahead and copy that. Make sure to paste it and put it in location ID. I don't think we need it for up here. No, we don't really need it for any other nodes. I don't think I missed anything. No, we don't need it in any other nodes. I believe it's only for when we're searching contacts for some reason. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure. Yeah, okay, perfect. So again, that's fine. And make sure to go ahead and put your location ID and then your calendar ID previously. And then from here, we're just simply setting some variables. So again, the start time right here, let's come back to our webhook. So again, this start time right here is essentially going to be this, start time of the appointment date time, right? So we can see, we open up this is going to be that previous text. And then we're just mapping in all these variables right here. So again, the phone number is just going to be the phone number right here. And then the emails is going to be email. So again, we're just setting variables so it's easier so we can go down to the workflow. And then from here, we have search go high level. So we're going to be searching a contact within Go High Level. And this is a very, very important part because in order to create appointments, we actually need a contact ID. So that's the whole reason why we search for a contact inside Go High Level right here. So for example, we have the JSON file right here, and this is very important, right? So again, this is going to be our API request to Go High Level to search for the contact ID. Now, if you added in your authentication, everything will be fine. Make sure to switch it to send body, and then we're going to be doing it by a send JSON type, right? So again, you are going to need to put in this exact JSON. If you download the template, it'll all be in there, right? But essentially, it's going to be the location ID. This is why we need to search for contacts, is going to be that location ID that we put in and that we set from those variables. And then the field is going to be phone number, right? And the whole entire reason why we do phone is because it's such a better accurate way than doing email, right? If we ask the customer to provide the email, we know that when working with voice agents, it can be very inaccurate just because, people have different last names. They might be more complex. And just by working with voice AI, the voice AI can get it wrong, a fair bit of the time, right? So again, we can actually use the phone number that they're calling from to search if they're a contact with inside the CRM. And this is a much, much more reliable way because the phone number is automatically set. We already know it. And it's essentially 100% accuracy rate when we're searching up the contact CRM. So that's why we use the phone number right here. And then that value is going to be that phone number that we have from the webhook, right? Awesome. And then from there, essentially, let's just go, we'll just stay in the editor. And then from there, if that contact is available, so if it does return a contact ID, so if that contact ID does exist, it'll then go ahead and create an appointment, right? So again, pretty simple. All that we're doing right here is the calendar ID, that's from those set variables, the location ID, that's from those set variables, the contact ID, that's from this previous node right here. And then we have the start time, which is going to be the converted time that we have gotten from that previous AI module right here. That's going to be the text right there. And then from here, we have the email. So again, alternatively, if you do want to update an email, put it in an email, you can, because that's going to be extracted from the transcript. And then from here, we have the value, right? So again, this is going to be the title of your appointment. So again, appointment for Ashton Voss. That's essentially all that the title is going to be. And then again, it's very similar thing. So again, if that appointment has been deemed successful, it'll say successful. And then if it's unsuccessful, we can add in some error handling right here saying, sorry, your appointment could not be created due to an error. Please try again or request another time. So again, adding in more error handling if that scenario is possible, right? And then from there, essentially, if the contact ID right here deems unsuccessful, so again, we can come back here. If it does not exist, we can then go down this path. We can create a new contact and then create an appointment again, right? So again, it's very simple. We'll just go ahead and create a contact with some of the details right here. So again, using the URL, which is API lead connector /contacts, using our custom auth, and then going down in the JSON body right here and just setting all the variables such as the name, last name, location ID, phone number, etc., right? And then from there, if it is unsuccessful and for whatever reason we don't create the contact, it won't go ahead and create it. It will just deem it as a webhook error, hence handling those error responses. And then from here, we have the create an appointment right here, which is essentially the exact same thing up there, and then the exact same thing with the workflow error notes. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you got a good understanding on actually how to integrate within Go High Level. Go High Level is, a lot of businesses are switching to it just because of its versatility. There's so many features in there, and it's a very valuable Go High Level calendar. Or alternatively, if you were building this for businesses and they don't have a CRM, this is the #1 option you should recommend to them because you can do upsells, etc., right? So essentially, this is a quick video on actually how to build an appointment booking agent with Vapi and Go High Level. And also, if you were wondering, by the way, because Vapi also have these inbuilt calendars, the reason why we do it by n8n is it's so much more reliable, right? It's so much more reliable actually using that inbuilt API requested rather than Vapi. And the reason because of that is we can have all these error, responses. We can have everything right here. And I found just based on experience, it's much more reliable doing it this way, right? So essentially, if you do want the template, go ahead and download it. It's completely for free in the resource hub in my school. Alternatively, if you are a business owner and you are watching this and you want custom solutions just like this built for your business, feel free to go ahead and actually book a call down below in the link in the description. But without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.